Well, good evening, everyone. We are so excited to be with you for our Wednesday night connection call with our United Nations. Thank you guys so much for being with us. I'm Tammy Clinton, Executive National Vice President, Independent Consultant, and it is with sincere pleasure that I get to introduce our guest trainer tonight. So take out your pens and paper. You're going to learn so much and gain so much inspiration from our good friend and Arbonne sister, Alece Heisey. I actually heard her through a recording in Jamaica, and I actually texted Carlita while she was in Jamaica, and I said, chase her down. We need her for our training call in November. And so that is exactly how we got Alece, and I am so tickled to have her and for her to share a special message with each of you tonight. Just so you get to know a little bit about Alece, what I have learned is that she's been married to Alec for 18 years, and she has an incredible daughter that's 6 years old. She was raised in Texas most of her life, but as an adult, she's really resided in Pennsylvania, most of it, and she was an adventure educator working with children and college students for almost 20 years before Arbonne. Isn't it so awesome to look at the different occupations before Arbonne found us? There's just a mixed variety, and that just gives you so much hope that anyone and anywhere can be a part of Arbonne and be very, very successful. She's been a part of Arbonne for 13 years. She's won lots of AIT trips, and we're going to have that AIT announcement on December 1. Everybody get ready for that for our next trip. She's in the top 20 level 4 earners for the Jamaica one, and she has actually fought through lots of chronic different health issues over the years of building her Arbonne business, chronic Lyme's disease and many other challenges. And what she learned through that, as we always do learn through our challenging moments, is that the building of this business alongside difficult life circumstances can happen. You can still be very successful. This business has saved them in so many ways. She said that she would dare not to pay this forward, this gift of Arbonne, forward to other people so that they too can prepare for impact. It's a pleasure and it's a privilege to get to share with others what we get through Arbonne. As we have been putting our hearts and our minds and our prayers towards California wildfires, and have learned that many of our very own family members out there, our very own Arbonne family, many of their homes, I think there's 13 that have lost their homes. You can see the type of community and the extended family that we have and the difficult circumstances that people go through. It's called life. And to know that we have one another as we journey through it, it's one of the sweetest gifts. And so let's not take any more time, and let's sit back and hear and learn from Alece Heisey. We are so happy you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, thank y'all so much for taking time to sit with me tonight. Like Tammy said, it is a pleasure and a privilege to share my story. I feel like if it weren't for all the other NVPs over all the years sharing their stories, I'm not sure I would have had the courage to keep going. And so folks like Carlita Nelson, she was my first girl crush in Arbonne years and years and years ago. And so it's just a real honor to get to serve her and all of her team and all of y'all tonight. So I have been with Arbonne 13 years. And just a short little snippet, it took me 6 months to get to district manager. I love that a lot of people are doing that in 1 to 2 months these days. It took me another year to get to area, then another 1.5 years to get to region, and then another 9.5 years to get to nation. So we just promoted to nation this past February. So I love that there are people who are moving and shaking in this business quickly, because we all know somebody who needs Arbonne to have worked for them yesterday. And so we need those stories of people who are moving and grooving fast, so we can say, if that's what you need, we can help you get it. But for those of you who are on this call tonight who are feeling like you have been sitting at a level in Arbonne for forever, and you're wondering, is there hope for me that the best Arbonne has to offer can really ever be available for me? I want you to know the answer to that is absolutely yes. And that what's probably holding you back, which was 100% the case for me, and all the times that I got stuck in my business, it all went back to belief. And that's what I shared about in Jamaica, and that's what apparently caught Tammy's attention and encouraged Carlita to reach out to me. And so I'm just going to share a little bit more of my story with you and my journey with belief, and how the beliefs that I had, either positive or negative, the ones that served me and didn't serve me, were either the things that helped propel me forward or the things that were holding me back. And so the first time, we all hear about belief all the time. We hear different things about belief. But I don't know about you, but when I stopped to actually evaluate if I was living out those things that I heard about belief, I realized that I wasn't living them out at all. And so my first encounter with belief was that belief was a decision. And I actually had been in Arbonne for 2 years when this concept hit me like a wall. I was a struggling area manager at the time. I had a team of 3, so including myself, that was 4 of us. And altogether, the 4 of us were doing 3,000 QV a month. So for those of you who've been in Arbonne longer than a hot second, you realize that's not area numbers. That's barely maintaining district manager. So it tells you how much I was not leading my team and how I didn't believe that this would work. I wasn't working my business. It was something I was doing from time to time. But what do we call something you do from time to time? A hobby, not a business. And so I had a hobby of Arbonne, but I was calling it a business. I was a struggling area manager, and I was at GTC, and I was commiserating with another sideline sister who was also a struggling area. And I remember thinking, oh, see, Alece, this is hard. This success really is for the lucky few, and for the rest of us, we just have to slave away and not really get anywhere. And I remember letting her story give me permission to keep myself at the back of the pack. And I'm ashamed of that now, but at the time it was comforting to me. And so I just proceeded along and didn't do anything differently. Well, I saw this same sideline sister 3 months later. There was a big event being held in Oklahoma City. I actually went, and I got all 3 of my teammates to go with me. And I was really proud of myself that I got people to fly to Oklahoma and, attend this event. And I saw that sideline sister, and she wasn't struggling anymore. She had a team of 16 people with her who also had to get on a plane and fly there. And they were in qualifications for regional vice president. And I thought, what in the world happened? How did she go from struggling area just 3 months ago, and now she's in qualifications for region? She must have found the secret. And you know what? She did. She found the secret. And here's the secret. She was on the phone with Cecilia Stoll, and Cecilia was listening to all of her excuses as to why Arbonne didn't work for her. And finally, she just challenged this woman, and she said, you know what? It sounds like you don't believe. And the woman was like, well, what do you mean? She said, well, it's a decision you make. You decide to believe, or you decide not to believe. And it's that simple. And and so this woman thought, okay, well, if I just need to wake up in the morning and choose to believe, then I'm going to do that. And she did that. And 3 months later, they were in qual for region, and they finished region and had a really solid region after that. And I thought, no way is it that simple. But you know what? If it is, I'll be danged if I get left behind. And I decided that I was not going to let her go region without me right on her heels. I'm not a super competitive person, but you know what? Sometimes you need like that kind of truth in your face to light a fire in your britches to get you to move. And that's exactly what I needed. Her story shocked the truth into me, shocked me out of my stupor and comparing myself to the back of the pack. And I realized if this is a decision I need to make, I need to stop treating belief as though it's something that has to grow over time. You know, the older it is, the better it gets, you know, like wine or cheese. I needed to make a decision and start moving. And I did. And so I started talking to more people. I started focusing on joy and belief and excitement and fun rather than on disbelief and on drudgery and fear and all of those things. And I started leading my team in those things. And I started saying, let's see if we can do a little bit more than we had been. And our numbers started doubling. And you guys, I needed to focus also on abundance and not on scarcity. Cecilia did a training once where she challenged us on our mindset, on were we focusing on not enough in our life, or were we focusing on all that we had to be grateful for? And I realized I was not enoughing myself and my life and my business, that there's not enough time, not enough money, not enough resources. You know, the list goes on and on. And when you focus on scarcity, you get more of what you feed, right? So I needed to shift my mindset to one of deciding to believe and focusing on all that I had to be grateful for. And within a year of making that decision, I was literally in the Mercedes dealership picking out my Mercedes. And, you know, I'm thrilled that there are people who are doing it faster, but if you're someone who's struggling and you're doing 3,000 in volume, and you knew that if it just took a matter of deciding and believing and speaking with belief that a year from now you'd be a regional vice president, would you be pleased? Most of you probably would say yes. I want to tell you, it doesn't have to take that long. But for me, I was thrilled that that mindset, I could tell within mere months, just 2 months, we had already gone from 3,000 to almost 17,000. That's an encouraging movement, right? And so belief is a decision. Another thing about belief is that it has a sound to it. You've probably heard this time and time again, but here's a subtlety I want to share with y'all on something that Cecilia even reminded me of last year while we were attempting to go nation. You know, when we truly believe that Arbonne is a gift that can change people's lives, we share it, right? Because we know there's a lot of people out there who are desperately praying for an answer to their challenging circumstances. And so for a lot of us, we see, oh my gosh, Arbonne's the answer. And there's a lot of us that are doing the do and like talking to people, but unless that passion and conviction of how Arbonne really can change a life is showing up in our voice where people can hear it, they can hear that sound, then you know what this looks like from the outside? If that belief and conviction and passion is not there, this looks like a sales job. So if you've ever talked to somebody about doing Arbonne with you and their first response is, oh, but I could never do sales. You know, maybe it's just them seeing Arbonne for something that it's not. I mean, of course we do sales, but that's not why most of us get into Arbonne, right? We get into Arbonne because we want to change lives. We want to help families have a brighter future. So there's some people that just aren't going to get it. But if you hear somebody say, I don't want to do sales, use that to do a little bit of self-reflection. Is the way I'm speaking about Arbonne void of all the passion and conviction so that all people see this as is just a sales job? Because I honestly don't blame people if all they think this is sales for not wanting to join us. But if our words are moving people, that's how Miranda Bertram spoke about it at our retreat with Cecilia last year. She said, are your words moving people? Because if they're not moving people, then we need to really evaluate how much we truly believe, because that belief should be coming out in such passion and conviction that people can't help but join us. Because you know what? That's what real hope does. It throws out that lifeline and it pulls them in. You know what? The word encouragement means to lend courage. That's what we do when we speak with belief, is we're lending them courage to take those steps forward with us. Even though they're scared, even though they don't know what to do, even though they think they might fail, they step out in faith to join us because they hear the belief and the conviction in our voice. You know what? Carlita actually has trained on this. A couple years ago, I bought a training with Carlita for the Haiti auction, and a lot of us bought that. And so there were a bunch of us on this call with Carlita, but she said, when are you offering the true story of Arbonne in all of its power and all of the amazing things Arbonne can offer people? Or are you offering a watered down version that has all your fear, your unbelief, your hangups, all of that woven into it? And I remember when I heard her share that several years ago, I was really convicted, and it made me take a step back and say, I'm doing the do and sharing about Arbonne with people, but am I offering a watered down version or Arbonne's true powerful version? And that's another way to think about belief having a sound to it. You know, we have a lot of teammates who are doing that work, and if they're not speaking with belief and conviction, then they're not getting a return on that investment. And that's a really important thing to be talking through with our teams is, can people hear it in your voice? Is it moving them? Here's the exciting thing, though, that when we do make a decision to believe and we do speak with conviction and passion, it really does become contagious. And I shared in Jamaica some stories of some folks who were mid-month, made a shift in their mindset and chose to believe that amazing things could happen for their business. And by the end of the month, they were actually in qualifications for regional vice president. ENVP Danielle Lawver was actually asking for these stories in the Facebook group for the NVPs. And a lot of people started chiming into their stories. There were tons of stories that actually popped up, people both starting qualifications for region and finishing qualifications. But I'm going to share a couple of them with you now. And these are all for people who started qualifications for regional vice president. So if you're not a region yet and you want to be, listen up, we're mid-month, so this is perfect timing for this call. If you're already an RVP, but you want to go nation, pretend as though you're not a region yet, and pretend as though you want to start qualifications for region all over again. So listen to these stories of transformation that happened for people when they chose to believe mid-month. So one of them, NVP Leah McMurrow, said that her first VP, Erin Falco, went to a training mid-month and was at about 3,000 in volume. She had a huge shift at that training, went home, started RVP qual in 2 weeks with well over 40,000. In fact, Leah thinks she actually did over 50,000. It was amazing. She basically sponsored and launched people immediately. She had some events on the calendar and sponsored from there, but she just was on a mission. Totally the power of a decision, said Leah. They completed well before the end of the month and the following month because they were launching and getting all those new people into activity. She had maybe 3 or 4 legs to her business, of which 2 or 3 were brand new, but they were just all in crazy momentum. Isn't that an awesome story? I totally love that. That is so amazing to me. Okay, Leah also shared a story of another RVP on her team, Chrissy Sherman, who went to her first area retreat as a brand new area just this past July. She was also at a couple of thousand QV mid-month. She went home from that training and went RVP qual by the end of the month, and she finished region the next month in August. Okay, how many of you say, oh, July and August, summertime, too hard to promote? Here, Chrissy just showed all of us what is possible in those summer months. Love it. NVP Ashley Stone shared how one of her area managers was sitting at just shy of 6,000 on the 15th of the month. Okay, so today's the 14th. Any of you just at about 6,000 in volume mid-month? She had only one district manager on her team. So an area with one DM, that's it. She got into massive activities, sponsored a new teammate who did 10,000 in 2 weeks. So that new teammate totally rocked it. The AM, she helped her one DM go into qualifications for area. She also promoted 4 new districts. The morning of close day, they were at 23,300, but finished that night with 42,000 and were in qualifications for regional vice president. So in one day, in close day, they almost doubled their volume. That is so crazy. I love it. Andrea Langcomer-Smith, she's an ENVP in Linda Parker's Success Line. She told a story this summer about in her business, 9 months into her business, she was a bonusing area. And she had been bonusing for 4 months straight. So that's a pretty impressive business. 9 months into her business, she'd already been bonusing as an area for 4 months straight. She thought, though, her belief was that 40,000 to do region qualifications was too much, but she never said that to her team. She made a decision to actually go for it. And the very next month, they jumped from area bonus numbers, so around 20-ish thousand, to 103,000 in volume to start qualifications for regional vice president. Oh my gosh, that's like the craziest story ever. But it's because they had been working and working. They had their calendars full. They were doing the do. And she decided to believe what was possible. And then bam. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine going from 20,000 to 103? So clearly she was in qualifications for region. She finished qualifications for region that next month. I think they even started qualifications for nation in that next month. Holy smokes. Okay, one more story. Danielle Laver herself was telling the story of the woman she was collecting all these stories for, Melissa Coy. She was trying to encourage Melissa that she could go region qual in September. So she woke up Saturday, September 29th, so the day before the last day of the month, and they were only at 19,700. She woke up Sunday, September 30th, the last day of the month, and that morning they were at 24,400. No one would have blamed her if she would have thought, you know what, it's just not my time. I'll keep building. I'll get a few leaders. Eventually we'll get there. Instead, she chose to believe and acted on that belief, and her team caught the vision. It was contagious. They bought into what was truly possible, and they finished the month in qualifications for region with over 40,000. So she doubled her volume in 2 days. And then they went on to finish region there in October. So she's a new RVP now. So such awesome, amazing stories. I love those. It's so encouraging of what's possible. And it would be easy to just like close, the call here and say, everybody go ride that awesome wave of excitement and make it happen for yourself. But I would actually be doing y'all a disservice if I didn't hit on one more point of what belief involves. And this one is so subtle that it's really easy to miss, but it's really powerful when we realize it. And Cecilia has told us a lot that belief is something that you decide every day. It's not just a decision you make once and that's good and it'll last you the rest of your Arbonne life. It's a decision you make every day. You have to put on belief every morning, just like you put on your clothes. But here's the other part of that. You can't just put on what you want. We have to take off what we don't want. We have to take off what's not serving us well. And Cecilia said it's a lot like leaving your pajamas on and then putting your clothes on over top of it. And nobody would dress that way, right? I shared in Jamaica a picture of my daughter. She came to me about a month ago and said, Mama, I'm going to go ride bikes with Daddy. And she was dressed with her play clothes on. She had on her bike helmet, her elbow pads, knee pads, but she also had her pajamas still on underneath all of these clothes. And I said, did Daddy dress you? And she said, no, I want to do it this way. And I thought, I don't know if that's a good idea. She gets really hot really easily. That's a lot of clothes for a warm day and to go do an active thing. But she insisted she wanted to wear that. I was like, okay, should be pretty harmless. So she went out to ride bikes with Daddy. It wasn't 5 minutes before she was back in the house crying, taking off all her bike gear. I said, sweetie, what happened? And she said, I'm too hot. I'm too frustrated. This isn't working. And she was done. She gave up. She quit. And I thought, oh my gosh, the one thing that made the difference between her doing the thing that brought her joy, that would give her energy and excitement, fresh air, being active, time with Daddy, the one thing that derailed that whole goodness that was supposed to happen was she still had her jammies on. She left those on underneath. And she wasn't meant to ride bikes with her jammies still on. And it really hit me as I was thinking about this idea of belief and putting belief on and taking unbelief off. is that we can't be about the good work we were meant to do in Arbonne if there's still a layer of unbelief underneath all the Arbonne glitz and glam and sparkle. And it's so subtle, but it's so powerful. And I think a lot of us are trying to put belief on every day. And we're wondering, why is this not working? Why is my business not exploding? What's going on here? Maybe success is just for the lucky few, and it's not for everyone in Arbonne. And I want to encourage you that my guess is for all of us, there's some layer of unbelief underneath the belief that we have to take off what's not serving us well before we can really start breaking some records. And so I want to encourage y'all, what is it that is keeping you deterred, distracted, discouraged, that you need to take off first so that you can really start thriving and breaking your own records? And so for me in my business, there were a few things that I needed to take off. I needed to take off fear. Fear, there's been a thread of that all throughout my business. And I had heard that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And so how I dealt with fear was, if there was false things I was believing, I wanted to know it. No way did I want to base my life and my business off of something that was a lie. So I sat down and I wrote out all of my fears, and I looked at each one and thought, is that true? Is that true? Is that true? And what I found was most of my fears weren't true. So that got me really mad that I had been holding myself back, holding my team back because of lies. But then the few things I thought, you know what, that could be true. I could have friends who think that I'm crazy. I could have people who think that this isn't ever going to work. But what I had to decide was, with those things that could be true, could I survive them? And when I decided I could survive it, no way was I going to give my power over to other people and what they thought, then I had to move forward with full belief. And I had to look fear in the face and say, I don't have time for you. I know you're going to show up. You're not going to go away. Fine. Sit down, shut up. I have work to do. That's how Tom Barrett tells us to deal with fear. And it has helped me ever since. Another thing was the scarcity. And I already mentioned that to y'all. And one thing that helped me get over scarcity mindset and focus on abundance was keeping a gratitude journal. And so I wrote down in my journal every night, as many nights as I could, 10 things I was grateful for. And within that year, that's when we went from 3,000 in volume to an RVP. So I really want to encourage you to keep a gratitude journal. And then some other things that held me back, the things I needed to take off, especially during that 9.5-year span of being a regional vice president, when you start to wonder, will I ever be anything but an RVP? And don't get me wrong, I was grateful for all the blessings that being an RVP gave to our family. But you do start to question, will I ever make it to the top? Can I ever show my team that they can make it to the top? And one of the things that I needed to take off as an RVP was this belief of whether or not I could lead. Can I lead at the level of NVP? And there was this uncertainty for me there, is, do I have what it takes to be that kind of leader? Maybe you're a district or an area and you'd be happy to be at RVP for 9 years, but you wonder if you can ever get there. And you're wondering, I'm not certain if I can lead at that level. Here's what Cecilia challenged me on a 1.5 years ago that made all the difference. And within 3 months, we were in qualifications for nation. I shared with her my uncertainty about leading at the next level, whatever that level is for you, leading at that next level. And she said, Alece, here's what leadership looks like. It's called head servant. Can you serve many? And I said, absolutely, I can serve many. And she said, and here's also what it looks like. It looks like talking to your team when they're struggling about their belief, just like we've talked about tonight, and do they have activity to match? And that's it. That's what your leadership looks like with your team. Clearing the smoke out of the room of all the other things we want to get distracted with and say, do you truly believe and do you have activity to match? And when you're doing those two things, your business will grow, your team will grow. And that's what leadership looks like. And a weight was lifted off my shoulders of that's it. I can do that. I can be that for my team. And within months, we were in qualifications for Nation. We finished Nation. And my team told me, Alece, we heard belief in you like we've never heard it before. It was like Cecilia was reminding me of the importance of belief and that conviction and that passion. And so that I wasn't just an Arbonne employee showing up for the job, which moves no one, but I was sharing with them that we all can make it to the top. And here's how. We believe big and we act big. And that's it. And so that's when mountains are moved. And that's how belief can take us from being, a brand new consultant who doesn't know what or how to do, but is just on fire, all the way to the top of this company. And so that is a short and condensed version of my story, but I hope I've given you something that you can hang on to and you can be like, you know what? That feels similar to me, and I think I can take that and run with it. And so if you can do a little self-reflection to lead you to a revelation, then I promise you, you are going to be released from some things that have probably been holding you back, and you're going to be free to move with passion and conviction that's going to be contagious. Your team is going to catch it. And I won't be surprised if I'm hearing all kinds of stories of people walking the stage at GTC that didn't think it was possible back mid-November. So thank you so much for allowing me to share with y'all tonight. It's been a pleasure and a privilege. And I hope you choose to pay it forward and pass this blessing on to someone else too. So thank you so much, Tammy, for letting me share with y'all tonight.
Alece, oh my goodness, we have totally been changed by your message tonight. I feel like I've had a soul cleansing happen right before my eyes. Guys, I'm going to tell you, she gave you so many gifts. If you could just only imagine, I know it's the gift giving season very soon after Thanksgiving. If you can think about all of the gifts that you've been given and that you will be giving and you will be receiving over the Christmas holiday. You've received actually from Alece a Christmas gift today that will change your forever. If you will just take that gift and open it up and understand the power of her gift. She just told you the very key essentials to you to creating the life, the future, the dream can all be yours. If you will use words to move people, if you will look at belief as a decision, if you will look at belief that has a sound, if you will look at yourself as being a head servant to many, it isn't a scary place because that's what we were created for. And that is all in our DNA. I am so grateful, Alece, for the gift of you tonight. You have truly said things in such a sweet, tender way. You've pierced my heart. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope that every single one of you will remember tonight on November 14th when Alece gave you a gift. And please put in the comments your gratitude towards what she's done for you. Thank you, Alece. I appreciate you joining us tonight. It has been so wonderful to have you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Alece, be sure and read your little love notes, okay?
Okay, I'll do it.